Welcome to the Newsmaker. Take a deep breath as we embark on an interview with world-renowned yogi, mystic and author Sadhguru. Sadhguru, you have come to the United Nations here in Geneva for the International Day of Yoga 2019. What is your mission here?
So essentially, in so many different ways, United Nations is about bringing the world together. We have national identities, ethnic identities, religious, racial, other kinds of identities which has set us apart, sometimes set us against each other endlessly. The very formation of United Nations is the basis of that beyond these identities, how human beings can come together. In the last 5 years, this attempt to also use yoga as a way of bringing coherence to who we are on this planet. It is very relevant because without transforming human experience, trying to transform the world, well, it will be just on the surface, it'll be very cosmetic. Whatever is cosmetic will… as everything cosmetic is, it wears out. So we are trying to bring people together with ideologies, with changing of attitudes. These things will not last only when our experience of life alters itself. When the way we perceive and experience life moves into a larger space, only then there is a real transformation. The word yoga itself means union. That means, see, we are in union with the existence, not by choice. That is the nature of existence. Every day we eat, we drink, we breathe and many more things. All this is keeping us in union. If we resist that, we will cease to exist.
You have spoken at many events around the world, also at universities, from the London School of Economics to Stanford to Yale and so on. Also here in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum many times. What is your message to global leaders?
The important thing is, as I said, in our experience, we are right now taking our individual experience too seriously. Our existence is not individual, our existence is in natural transaction with everything around us. But in our experience, we have an individual sense of experience. This is given to us out of magnanimity of creation, that we have an individual experience. Though you and me cannot exist for a moment without breathing, still we have a sense of individuality. We are taking this too seriously. Yoga means just this, that if you sit here, you're in union with everything else in your experience. Experientially, if the world leaders experientially knew themselves as larger than who they are right now, everything would be towards solutions, not towards problems. See, for example, we are producing nearly 4 times the food that we need on this planet, but still nearly 30% of the people are starved. So this clearly shows our problems are not because we are not able to handle it, our problems are simply because we are not willing to handle it.
Is this then not in sharp contrast with the digital world and blockchain and cryptocurrencies and social media as well, where you also participate actively with YouTube videos and so on?
See, long-distance communication is easy. When it comes to share what we have, it's a big problem. That is because we do not experience somebody as a part of ourselves. We're divided in so many different ways. So the whole effort is to go beyond that. So yoga is an individual level of that expansion. If that happens to the world leaders, at one time somebody asked me, Sadhguru, if there's one thing we can do for you which will transform the world, what is it? I said, I will ask for 25 people, give them to me for 5 days. You will see within 2 to 3 years there'll be a big transformation. They asked, who are these 25 people? I named 25 heads of the most important nations on the planet. I said, if the way they think and feel and experience life alters itself, we have enough resource, capability and technology to address every human problem on the planet.
That's a very big vision, and you are a visionary as well as a mystic and obviously a yogi as well. Now, many of these big yoga gatherings and sessions around the world are being monetized as well, a lot of business around them as well, even though this event here is for free. How do you feel about that?
Most of our events are free. It's only the entry level which has some fee. But rest of all the advanced programs are always free. All the rural programs are free. More than 70% of our work is in rural India. They are all free of cost. But to cover the costs for all this, plus the projects we have, we are educating a few thousand children on a, annual basis. We have adopted over 4,600 schools in southern India. So all this takes money, and we are a volunteer organization. We are over 4,600 full-time volunteers and over 9 million part-time volunteers. It's all sustained because of their efforts. If there were no volunteers, this whole operation would cost so much more.
Around the world, yoga is a booming business though. Like the International Yoga Foundation, for example, estimates that the industry has hit some $80 billion last year. This is incredible. What's your take on that?
See, when we say business, we must understand either one can see it as a profiteering process or one can see it as a transaction where both the parties benefit. Whether it's marketplace or marriage, unless both the people benefit, there is no transaction will sustain itself. So if something has to sustain itself, everybody involved need to benefit, otherwise it'll not sustain.
You have also spoken at many multinational companies, for example, the tech giants at Microsoft and Google. Why do these big companies want to hire you and listen to you? What is their need?
They don't hire me.
Why do they invite you to speak?
The important thing is this. Well, this is the way you as a media person would see it, but for me, whether the human beings are working in companies or they're running the governments or they're in prison or they're in tribal villages, for me, human beings are human beings and their problems are same. Their expressions may be different, but essentially their problems are same. I'm not talking to corporate leaders, I'm not talking to political leaders, I'm not talking to criminals, I'm not talking to tribal women, I'm only talking to human beings.
And what kind of advice do they seek though, these big companies? What kind of transformational changes and maybe return to more spirituality and peace of mind are they seeking? Is it because we have so many burnout cases and troubles at the workplace, harassment and other, financial issues?
So that is the significant aspect that I'm trying to change, that it is not by advice or philosophy or ideology that we are trying to transform humanity. This is a technology for well-being. This is called inner engineering, technologies for well-being. Why I'm insisting it's a technology is because philosophy means you have to adhere to it, belief system means you have to believe it, teaching means you have to follow it, technology means you just have to learn to use it. Irrespective of who you are, what your race, religion, nationality may be, if you learn to use it, it works for you. So, yoga is that technology. This is why this is the time for yoga, because it's the first time in the history of humanity, we are more tech-oriented than ever before. So, as we handle everything around us with technologies, it's important we understand the most sophisticated piece of technology is the human mechanism.
And people have lost that along the way or are confused.
They have not even read the user's manual most of the time.
Now, of course, your vision is to change humanity with yoga, and you have come a very far way because there are millions and millions of people, if not billions, around the world practicing yoga. What is your ultimate goal? Do you want to get the whole planet practice yoga?
See, when you utter the word yoga, the physical yoga that you see in the West is not yoga per se. The physical yoga, which is referred to as asanas, accounts for just a minuscule part of yoga. It's just a preparatory step. Unfortunately, because it's physical and visible for people, they have taken it up yoga. The word yoga means, as I said earlier, it means union. So how you achieve this union? Through opening up your physical nature or psychological stuff or emotional stuff or energy stuff, there are many ways, but the important thing is you experience yourself beyond the boundaries of your physical body, that you begin to see that who I am is not just contained in this package, it's more than that. Once this happens, your sense of… natural sense of conflict with everything that's not you recedes. So naturally you're more peaceful and you're more settled and your ability to handle people and situations is greatly enhanced. This is what every human being is seeking, no matter what is the nature of their work. So, in my experience, I'm not going to corporates or political leaders or criminals. Our programs are standard in all the South Indian prisons and also in some… we also worked in United States in many of the correctional centers. But we are not looking for criminals or politicians or business people, wherever human beings are.
Are you disappointed a little bit or upset by practitioners or yoga businesses that might misinterpret your message?
A lot of misinterpretation is happening, a lot. But maybe when you're in kindergarten school, you don't have to necessarily form a perfect sentence. You somehow write it, all right? It's all right, at least they're introducing them to some form of yoga, some benefit will come. Distortions are happening, we're always making efforts to correct that and put it on track. But distortions happen when so many people are handling it, But at this stage of development, instead of looking for perfection, it is better that it touches everybody's life and then we can see how to make it more.
And making an impact is very big around the world right now. Young people choosing to make an impact over making money at the moment as well.
It's a very positive movement for humanity. Instead of seeing what is there for me, people are beginning to see what can I do to the world, which is still a small percentage of people, but it's a good movement that is there among the youth, that is there in the business, that is also beginning to come into the political circles. They want to leave a larger impact, which is definitely a very positive development.
Becoming a yoga teacher is a big, job and dream for many people here in Switzerland as well. What does one need to become a yoga teacher?
Well, people are becoming teachers in many different ways. In a weekend, somebody gets a certificate online. But the way we operate is, when it comes to the physical yoga, we do what is called as classical hatha yoga, which needs a lot of application, it's hard. If you have not done anything before, the basic program itself is 5 months, 7 days of the week.
And what are the key qualifications?
Qualifications are you're willing to bend your bones.
And you're still bending your bones, that's for sure. We'll keep the conversation going in part 2 of our newsmaker. At the age of 25, in 1982, you had a spiritual experience. Tell me about this.
Well, I had any kind of background to it. And I was the last person to turn spiritual, if you have to look at it that way. I grew up in '60s. One afternoon, suddenly I was just sitting there and every cell in my body started bursting with ecstasy. Till then, I thought this is me. Suddenly I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was all over the place. I'm sure that sounds insane. Even I thought so. What is happening to me? I thought I'm going off my rocker. But I was not willing to give up the experience because it was too fantastic. Then I realized, if I don't mess with my mind, if I simply sit here, every cell in my body explodes with ecstasy. Then I thought I've really discovered something, and I sat down, being 25, I sat down and planned, in next 2.5 years, I'm going to make the whole world ecstatic.
That was kind of a big mission.
That time the population was only 5.6 billion people, but see 38 years and as you said, we've touched a few million people, but that is not my idea of humanity.
What
So,
is your idea of humanity?
well, 7.6 billion people right now So, now I'm condemned to be a failure in my life, but I'm a blissful failure. But this is what I'm telling everybody, I bless you with failure, because you must choose to do something that cannot be fulfilled in one lifetime. You take a few steps and others will take the next few steps. If your dreams come true, that means you have a bloody small dream.
The Isha Foundation is a non-profit organization active in many different sectors. Which are the key goals and which are the main focus areas for you there?
The spiritual process as a technology for well-being is the main process. But because in the world we live in, there are many issues, particularly in India, there is issues of nourishment, education and ecology. So these three things have taken very large proportions now. Our Rally for Rivers has been the largest ecological movement on the planet. 162 million people participated. Now we have hands-on projects. Just in a couple of months now, we are coming up with rejuvenating or revitalizing a river basin which is about 83,000 square kilometers. So these activities are going on according to the need of the situation. The fundamental goal is the human being. But when somebody is thirsty or hungry, you can't teach them how to meditate, so I'm also trying to fulfill those things
At the core though is still yoga. Even though with the Isha Foundation you're now focusing on the environment, on education, on social outreach programs and so on, so you're also benefiting from yoga in spreading into those industries and businesses.
I don't see it that way. What I see is human requirement is well-being. To be well, it's necessary, food, water, air, things must be taken care of. When those things come into question, then you will have to attend to it. Though that is not my absolute focus, right now we are involved heavily in these things because these are all done by our different segments of volunteer forces, and young people have come and they're working without any expectation. You know, this is the unique nature of the foundation, that unpaid, people are working 7 days of the week, 365 days. So to keep them inspired, I'm also 7 days, 365 days on
And how do you manage your schedule, Sadhguru? You're traveling all the time.
Yes, in the next… in the next 6 days I'm in 4 countries. That's how it is all the time.
You're not giving up on your yoga mission at all. Now…
Not giving up, but I know I'm destined to be a failure, but I'm a blissful failure. The thing in life is, if we do not do what we cannot do, it's not a problem. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disaster. So, my life is about seeing that nobody's life becomes a disaster. Every human being should do everything that is possible to be done towards a solution.
But right now there are so many burnout syndromes, young people losing, their minds, losing their orientation, millennials and the Generation Y. So what is your advice for them?
See, this is because they're trying to upgrade their activity without upgrading the machine. Without upgrading the capability of this machine, if you upgrade the activity, you will burn out. It is like you took a streetcar on a Formula 1 track, it'll burn out. So they want to speed without upgrading the machine. This is all they need to focus on, how to upgrade this life. If you keep on upgrading this life, activity will naturally follow.
There are so many different forms and styles of yoga. Ashtanga, yoga retreats, puppy classes, animals doing yoga. It's really going a bit crazy, right? But which is your favorite form of yoga?
See, all this twisting and turning is not considered yoga. But they've picked up something from yoga and they're doing these things.
But that is then a business, right?
It is, but that's what I said. when you say a business, we have, as a generation of people, we have decided to move towards market economy. What this means is the demand will decide which direction we go. Is this the best thing to do? Maybe not. But is there a better way to do it right now? I don't think so. We have not found a better way to do except the market way. Well, those who have a certain conscience will do the market sensibly, some will misuse it, this is always there. But the important thing is, we need to understand yoga is not a practice. Yoga is a state that you attain to. When your experience of life is in union with everything around you, then we say you're in yoga. Right now, people are mistaking asanas as yoga. Asanas means postures. Postures are just a preparatory. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which has over 200 Yoga Sutras, only one sutra is about asanas. What it says is, any posture that is comfortable and stable for you, this is your asana. But to find that posture, you have to do a little bit of work. That work is being misunderstood as total form of yoga.
This is my asana right now. Let's talk about social media as well, Sadhguru. And obviously, you're very big on all the digital platforms. On YouTube, you have some 3 million followers. On Twitter, 2 million. How important is social media in pushing your teaching and the message of yoga?
This is not about a competition or showing the numbers. As I said, my goal is 7.6 billion people. Every one of them should at least know, if they don't know ecstatic way of living, at least they must know how to live peacefully and joyfully within themselves. See, what we can do outside, what we can do in the world is determined by various factors in the world, but how we are within ourselves is entirely decided by us. So, at least your experience of life on this planet must be pleasant. You may not climb Mount Everest, you may not become the richest man, you may not do something else. At least you must live peacefully and joyfully. This much every human being deserves and this much must happen. The tools for this is what we are calling as technologies for well-being. It has a yogic background, but I'm generally avoiding using the word yoga because if you say yoga, people think I have to twist and turn. It is not necessarily twisting and turning. There are many different ways of doing it. How many ways means, when Adi Yogi, the first yogi, was asked, how many ways? He said, as many ways as there are atoms in the existence. That many ways are there.
Let's zoom out and talk about the state of the world today. Which are the biggest challenges, in your opinion, that the world is facing today?
As you see, climate is a major challenge. Right now, I just came from India today morning. Water has become a serious issue. I have been screaming hoarse for the last 30 years, only now they're beginning to listen when things go bad. So everybody asking me, media coming and asking me in the last few days, Sadhguru, how did this happen? I said, well, 30 years I've been speaking. You guys thought it's some kind of an alarmist joke. But when it comes to your doorstep, now there's really no water to drink, now you're asking why. You must talk about water shortages and water requirements, not when there is a serious crisis, because we'll do desperate things.
So you still have a lot of conviction work to do in the world when it comes to that message?
Yes, but now everybody is listening. We have written a policy for how to manage India's rivers, which has become an official recommendation from the central government to all the states. They sent it as an official recommendation to all the 29 states. Plus, now we are doing one project hands-on, another project with the government. So, large-scale projects are being envisioned right now. See, the problem is just this, the problems of democracy is also this, that the governments, their lifespan is only 4 years or 5 years, so they think in those terms. When it comes to ecology, you at least have to think in tranches of 25 years at a time. 25 to 50 years, you must think minimum.
So which would be the best political system, in your opinion?
No, there's no alternative to democracy, but I'm saying every system has its problems. I'm just pointing out that because political parties tend to think in 3 to 4 year terms, long-term investments are not coming the way it should come. Where investments are scarce, they want to create an impact with what they do in their period. So, people always thought ecology is tomorrow's problem. No, ecology is today's problem. It is not tomorrow's problem, this we must understand. And another fundamental mistake has been that if you address ecology, we will neglect economy. This is the basic difference I'm trying to bring about, that ecology and economy are not against each other, we can handle them together towards the well-being. Economy can be structured in a ecologically sensitive way.
You have been named one of the most important Indian figures in terms of protecting the environment. So which are your next big plans when it comes to fighting climate change around the world?
See, a large-scale campaign is going on in India towards this, about rivers, ponds, because water is a basic thing. But the real problem is not water, the real problem is soil. The soil has lost its organic content and the soil has become weak, that's why the water has become a problem. As a part of this, we are doing a movement called Kaveri Calling. Kaveri is a river, Kaveri is calling. This is a river along which I grew up from my childhood. I know this river very well. Today that river is at least 46% less water than what it was 40 years ago. So we are seeing how to convert at least 1/3 of this river basin into agroforestry to revive the river. This will also be a solution for farmer distress that region is experiencing. There are many farmers committing suicide. This agroforestry is a solution. We've already converted over 70,000 farmers into agroforestry and their incomes have gone up many-fold, 5 to 10 times it's gone up. So, right now we are asking for the governments to give some kind of incentive to push large number of farmers from regular farming to agroforestry. If we pull this off successfully, I'm having a three-tier approach towards this of 4 years. In 12 years' time, if we convert 33% of the farmers into agroforestry in this region, the river will flow and the farmer distress will go completely because nearly 82% of the farmers are debt-ridden, they will never come out of it because the problem of agriculture in India is of scale. The land ownership is so small, the investments are big, but they can never reap that from that little piece of land. So we are seeing how to integrate irrigation and marketing. The farming can happen still on an individual level. So we have come up with a structure which is the government-approved thing called Farmer-Producer Organization, through which we can integrate irrigation and marketing so that they can function successfully. We've already tried these models and they're very successful by bringing farmers together, creating the power of scale. Right now, the problem is lack of scale.
Before we go, just briefly, Sadhguru, what do you think about political problems that we are facing right now, like the rise in nationalism and protectionism around the world and the US-China trade war? How to address those issues?
See, here we are in Europe. This is a land which has gone through 2 world wars. The bitterness with which those wars were fought. 70 years ago or 80 years ago, whoever imagined the Germans, the French, the English, the Spanish and the Italians will come together as one. But European Union for me is not just an economic arrangement. I think it's a shift in human consciousness because putting aside such bitterness of war, still when that generation, many of that generation are still alive, being able to put that aside and come together as a union, I think was a phenomenal development.
Do you believe that in the future we will see more peace or more war?
Depends what we do with the world and ourselves. If we are more peaceful human beings within ourselves, we will naturally create peace. So this is why yoga is important, because without peaceful human beings, there is no peaceful planet. There are not too many problems in the world, there's only one problem, human beings. Without transforming the way human beings perceive and experience life, which will in turn lead to the way they act in the world, there's really no enduring solution.
Sadhguru, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.